The danger of hardening, why rigidity is the first step toward collapse. When people are born, they are supple. When they die, they are stiff. When trees are alive, they are flexible and green, but when they die, they become brittle and dry. In Taoist wisdom, this isn't just poetic metaphor. It's a spiritual warning and a practical teaching. Rigidity signals the end of growth. Hardness is the doorway to collapse. And in our fast-moving world, where pressure is constant and expectations are heavy, many people unconsciously harden just to survive. They clench through their day. They armor up their emotions. They build mental fortresses to block out discomfort. But in doing so, they cut themselves off from life's most powerful force, flexibility. Chapter 76 of the Tao Te Ching. When people are born, they are supple, and when they die, they are stiff. When trees are born, they are tender, and when they die, they are brittle. Stiffness is thus a companion of death, flexibility a companion of life. So when an army is strong, it does not prevail. When a tree is strong, it is cut for use. So the stiff and strong are below, the supple and yielding on top. This lesson is not about being passive. It's about being wise. It's about seeing that the same qualities that make a tree sway in the storm are the qualities that help us stand through our own challenges without breaking. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, a man named Carl came into one of my programs. He was a retired executive in his late 60s, successful by every traditional metric: big house, golf club membership, kids through college. But when he sat down for his first standing meditation session, something inside him cracked. He couldn't stand still. His legs trembled. His breath was shallow. And tears came almost out of nowhere. "I don't know why this is happening," he said. "I'm a strong guy. I've faced a lot in life." And that was the moment of truth. Carl had spent decades being strong. Strong for his team, strong for his family, strong for his community, but his version of strength was stiff. It was brittle. And now that the winds of aging and reflection were blowing through, he realized he had no root system. His strength had no softness beneath it. Over the next 6 months, Carl embraced the meditative arts, not as a hobby, but as a daily discipline. He practiced Qigong and standing meditation every morning. He learned to soften his breath, to yield into the floor, to trust his structure instead of force it. And something remarkable happened. His posture changed. His relationships softened. He even got off blood pressure meds that had been necessary for 15 years. Why? Because his nervous system no longer needed to hold up walls. He was no longer resisting life. He was yielding into it. Carl became a living embodiment of this verse from the Tao Te Ching. The stiff and strong are below. The supple and yielding are on top. This is not just a poetic ideal. It's a biological, emotional, and energetic reality. When you harden, you restrict energy flow. When you cling to one outcome, you block wisdom from appearing. When you resist what's unfolding, you blind yourself to the openings. That's why we train in softness. That's why we breathe, not to control the breath, but to follow it, to yield into the rise and fall of life itself. Too many people wait until collapse to learn this. They break down, they burn out. They hit crisis and then wonder why their tools don't work anymore. But if you study the Tao deeply, you realize collapse didn't come from the storm. It came from the rigidity that refused to bend with it. So how do we bring this to life in our practice? First, through movement. We train with softness, not sloppiness, so our form flows, but it is awake. Our posture aligns, but it yields. In Tai Chi and Qigong, we learn to move with power that does not resist, rooted like the mountain but flowing like water. Second, through breath, we regulate not just for relaxation, but to reclaim the connection between breath and life force. A breath that is forced is a breath of fear. A breath that is allowed becomes a messenger of awareness. Third, through stillness. Standing meditation teaches the power of presence without reaction. It strips away all the external identifiers and asks, who are you when you just stand? Can you yield into the moment without tension, without striving, without proving? That's where true flexibility is forged. And finally, through mindset. The yielding warrior is not soft because he is weak. He is soft because he is grounded in strength that cannot be taken. He does not chase what is not his. He does not force what is not ready. He does not panic when things fall apart because he has trained himself to yield. That doesn't mean he is passive, it means he is wise. Rigidity would have you believe that controlling everything is the path to success, but the Tao teaches that the more you try to control, the more you slip into suffering. Flexibility allows you to feel deeply, act clearly, and recover quickly. Here's your action step for today. Take 10 minutes and try this simple standing meditation. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart, bend the knees slightly. Let your arms hang naturally or gently round in front of you like you're holding a ball. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to the soles of your feet. Let the breath come and go without force. Feel your body's tension melting downward with gravity. With every exhale, imagine the rigidity leaving your body. With every inhale, welcome in softness, presence, and life. Do this every day for the next week. No matter what your day looks like, this 10-minute reset will begin to teach your nervous system the most important lesson of all. You don't have to fight your way through life. You can yield and still rise. You can soften and still lead. You can relax and still be powerful. That's the wisdom of this chapter. That's the power of the meditative arts. And that's the path of the yielding warrior. When people are born, they are supple. And when they die, they are stiff. When trees are born, they are tender, and when they die, they are brittle. The Tao teaches us that what is soft lives, what is rigid dies. Let that settle in for a moment, in a world that glorifies grit, hustle, and toughness. We rarely question the cost of becoming too hard, too unbending, too locked into our ideas, identities, or routines. But Taoism does. And today we will too. Years ago, there was a powerful storm that swept across a mountain village in Asia. The winds were so fierce they bent trees in half and shook homes from their foundations. After the storm cleared, villagers emerged to inspect the damage. Massive oak trees, tall, proud, and firm, were snapped like matchsticks. Yet the bamboo grove stood untouched, bending low to the ground during the storm, and rising back upright as the winds died down. The Tao lives in the bamboo, not the oak. Today's storm doesn't always come with wind and thunder. It arrives as information overload. It arrives as social pressure, chronic busyness, emotional burnout, and overwhelm. And like the oak tree, many people have hardened their way through it all, tensing their shoulders, clenching their jaws, living in a state of fight or flight without even knowing it. They've armored up to survive. But in doing so, they've lost touch with the yielding nature that preserves life. The meditative arts exist to remind us of that nature, and more importantly, to help us embody it again. You've heard phrases like stand your ground or be strong, but what if strength isn't found in force? What if strength is found in flexibility, in fluidity, in presence? The Tao tells us that the soft overcomes the hard. Water wears away rock, breath softens tension, awareness dissolves reactivity. When we harden, emotionally, physically, mentally, we lose range. We become predictable, controllable, fragile. True power lies in the ability to yield when appropriate and return without damage. Let me share a story of a young athlete I once coached. He was fast, explosive, and hyper-disciplined. He trained harder than anyone on the team, and his singular goal was to win the championship. But something started happening during high-stakes games. He would tighten up, try to control every play, get frustrated when things didn't go as planned. His rigidity, what he thought was mental toughness, became his downfall. In the final game, he froze under pressure, couldn't adapt to the unpredictable flow of the match, and the team lost. Afterward, he sat in silence, then asked, "How could I have done everything right and still lost?" I told him, "Because you tried to dominate the storm instead of dancing with it." That conversation marked the beginning of his journey into the meditative arts, into softness, into a strength that couldn't be snapped by adversity. Why we rigidify, protection, or prison. Most of us don't harden because we want to. We do it because we're trying to protect something: our identity, our security, our reputation, our past wounds. But what starts as protection often becomes a prison. We can no longer see clearly, feel deeply, or respond wisely. Meditative practices like breathwork, tai chi, qigong, and stillness begin to reverse this. They melt tension at the root. They retrain the nervous system to be calm under pressure. They restore your natural flexibility, not just in body, but in life. The yielding test. Daily signs you're too hard. Let me give you a few signs that rigidity is creeping in. If these feel familiar, you're not alone. You get irritated when plans change. You're constantly trying to control outcomes. You push through fatigue instead of listening to your body. You view rest as weakness. You struggle to let go of things that didn't go your way. Each of these is a subtle signal that you're living from contraction instead of flow. The Tao invites you to shift, not all at once, but gently, consistently, and with wisdom. Making the shift, softening without losing power. Yielding is not quitting. Yielding is not submission. Yielding is intelligent flexibility. Imagine a fighter who knows when to press and when to pivot, a parent who knows when to guide and when to simply listen, a leader who doesn't react with force but responds with awareness. This is not passivity. This is mastery. You don't lose your edge. You sharpen it through stillness. You don't become passive. You become precise. You don't lose power. You embody it more completely. A rigidity reset ritual. Here's a simple but powerful practice. It's called the rigidity reset. Each morning, take 5 minutes to check your posture, your breath, and your mindset. 1. Stand or sit in stillness. Scan your body for any tension in the jaw, neck, shoulders, and chest. Release those areas with each exhale. 2. Slow your breath. Inhale gently for a count of 4. Exhale slowly for a count of 6. Repeat this for a few cycles. 3. Speak the mantra silently. Softness is my strength. I yield and I return. Start your day from softness. And watch how the storms no longer uproot you. The Tao tells us, when people are born, they are supple. When they die, they are stiff. Therefore, the stiff and strong are below, and the supple and yielding are on top. This isn't just poetic philosophy, it's practical truth, and it applies in your business, your relationships, your training, and your health. You get to choose. Will you be the oak or the bamboo? Will you break under pressure or bend with power? Will you harden with fear or soften with awareness? The path of yielding is always open, but it requires courage, not the loud kind, the quiet, disciplined kind. If you're interested in these ideas, check out a free copy of my book, The Yielding Warrior. Just pay for shipping. Click the link below and we'll send you out a copy today. Let the journey from rigid to resilient begin.